I started in this business in 1991, and back then it was the same sort of thing. John Elliott was trying to sell meat pies into China, then he was trying to sell rice into China. I think Cadbury at one stage was trying to go big into China. It's the same sort of thematic. It's like, look how big their population is. If we can just get a small amount of that part of that population, we'll do well. And many of those early companies came back with their tail between their legs. Recently, obviously, China's opened up a lot more, and they've allowed a bit more in the way of foreign companies. But as far as the Australian companies go, it was a nice period there where Australia is seen as being a clean, safe place in which to source the goods from. But the reality is that you shouldn't be paying big multiples for those businesses, because I'm just not sure that in 5-10 years' time they'll be able to consistently grow that market. There's not a huge moat around those businesses. Milk powder, milk products, pharmaceuticals might have a little bit more, but that's more of a branding issue. But really, I don't think the way to play that China story is to get excited about those consumer goods. It was faddish. It's come off a bit. We saw after the dot-com boom that the stocks sort of that fell in half. They kept falling. If you go just trying to follow a catching knife in those sort of stocks, you could lose more money. I think the way to play the China story is more through the tourism. There's a lot of outbound tourism. Stocks like a Sea-Link or something like that, which own ferries in Sydney, that sort of thing. That's the way I would probably be trying to get exposure to the China rather than have an inbound consumer product. And you've seen even people like Rupert Murdoch when he tried to go into China. There's a great book called Murdoch's Adventures in China, and he came out of that the worse for wear. So I don't think they've got longevity, those China stories. I like the fact they've virtually got monopoly businesses. They've got the Captain Cook Cruises in Sydney as one great example. They sell out every single day, huge margins on that business. They've got the Sorrento to Queenscliff ferry, different type of market, still a monopoly business. They've there's huge moats and a lot of longevity in what they do. So that's more the style of business that I think looks appealing and a better way to play that Chinese consumer story. Because even if they get that wrong, even if China suddenly doesn't allow anyone to leave the country, they're still good businesses. There's other markets for that. Whereas if China suddenly bans the import of powdered milk or of vitamin drugs, then these companies could end up with nothing. So it's just more of it's a relativity argument as well as a good example of a good company.